Welcome to Does It Matter by Brainy Ballers, where we dissect the game with cutting-edge analytics to give you the upper hand. We analyze everything from hand sizes to average depth of targets to uncover hidden trends that no one else sees. Say goodbye to guesswork and hello to data-driven domination. Because here at Brainy Ballers, we don't just watch the game, we understand it. So get ready, it's podcast time.
Okay, let's dive in. This is a big one. We are hitting the 100th installment of the Does It Matter series.
It is, yeah. A big milestone.
And to mark the occasion, we're tackling the tight end position.
Always the toughest spot to fill.
So the big question for today is about breakout age. You know, that moment a player really takes over in college. Does it actually predict if there'll be a star in the NFL?
It's a fantastic question, and the source material for this is, well, it's about as robust as it gets. The researchers pulled 20 years of data, analyzing the top 50 PPR fantasy finishers every single season since 2003.
Wow, okay, that's a massive data set. But let's clarify something first, because breakout age is a term that gets, thrown around a lot. We're not just talking about a guy's first touchdown.
No, that's a crucial distinction. They're using data from Player Profiler, and in that context, breakout age is the age a player first hits a 20% dominator rating.
So what does that mean in, plain English?
It means they're accounting for at least 20% of their entire college team's offense. They're not just a guy on the field. They're a focal point.
Okay, got it. Dominant players. And why the focus on the top 50 fantasy finishers? Why not just look at every tight end who got drafted?
Well, you have to find the signal in the noise, right? If you include every guy who's just a blocker, the data gets really muddy.
Right.
So by sticking to the top 50, they found this sort of happy medium. Lets you see a clear contrast between the truly elite guys, the top 10 scorers, and the bottom 10 of that group, the guys from 41st to 50th, who are basically just clogging a roster spot.
So the mission is to figure out if being a young prodigy actually matters, because what I always hear, the conventional wisdom, is younger is better.
Oh, absolutely.
If a guy's a monster at 19, he's a can't-miss prospect. If he breaks out when he's 22, well, he's just old news.
And that's exactly where this gets so interesting, that whole younger is better narrative. For tight ends, the data just doesn't support it at all.
Wait, really? So the 19-year-old phenom isn't the guy you want?
According to this study, no. When they looked at just the data from 2007 onwards, this really surprising trend popped out. In almost 60% of those seasons, 10 out of 17.
Those elite players had a higher average breakout age than the guys at the bottom.
Which is the opposite of what you see at almost every other position. Usually, the top talents, they force their way onto the field early. But for tight ends, this data is telling us that a later breakout might actually be a better sign of high-end success, that early production could even be a false signal.
So, if we're not looking for the 19-year-old, where's the cutoff? I went looking for the sweet spot, and the report points to a really specific number.
The magic number.
Yeah, it's 21.8 years old. That seems to be the tipping point where late bloomer starts to turn into a reliable pro.
That 21.8 threshold, that's where the probability really shifts. The data shows that players with a breakout age of 21.8 or older, they appear in the top 10 fantasy finishers at a much higher rate.
How much higher are we talking?
Do you want to start dominating your drafts? At BrainyBallers.com, we've researched every metric under the sun for you to find which ones are best linked to fantasy points. You can access hundreds of metrics to sharpen your scouting ability so you know which metrics matter and which are just noise. Stop guessing on which thresholds to look for within each metric. Big numbers can be misleading or irrelevant. Our Ultimate Athlete Blueprints reveal essential scouting metrics, their importance, and benchmarks within each metric that help predict a player's probability of being a success or bust. Elevate your scouting ability with Brainy Ballers' Ultimate Athlete Blueprints today. Click the link in the description. Now back to the show.
It's 16.4% higher than the guys in that bottom tier. And if you think the game's getting younger and faster, well,
the data says otherwise.
When they break it down by decade, this preference for older breakouts is actually increasing in the most recent data.
So the modern NFL is favoring the more mature tight end prospect.
More now than 10 years ago, yeah.
Okay, but before we tell everyone to just ignore anyone who can't legally buy a drink, we have to talk about the signal strength here.
Right, the voice of reason.
The study ran a Pearson correlation coefficient, and the result was, let's just say it was quiet. Came back at 0.098. For anyone who didn't take stats, a 1 is a perfect link and 0 is just random chance.
It is low. It technically indicates almost no linear correlation across the whole 20-year data set. Just for comparison, something we know matters, like quarterback draft capital. That has a score of around negative 0.22.
So a statistician might just look at that 0.098 and say, this is useless, it's noise.
They might, yeah. And that's where the context becomes everything. The researchers looked at decadal differences. They compared the last 10 years to the decade before it. And even with that low overall score, the trend favoring that 21.8 plus age range is actually getting stronger in recent years.
So the signal is getting more intense over time.
Precisely. For modern players, in the most recent decade, a later breakout age has become an even more significant indicator for top 10 success.
That's fascinating. So if you're looking at a rookie draft guide and you see a tight end who didn't really pop until his senior year, you shouldn't just cross him off your list.
You should probably be circling his name. The verdict here is pretty clear. Breakout age isn't some magic bullet. But if you are going to use it, you absolutely have to throw out that younger is better bias.
To find the real signal, you have to look for the older guys.
Target that 21.8 plus range. That's where the value is.
It's just amazing how good data can completely dismantle a narrative we've all just accepted for years.
It really is. And it leaves us with one last kind of provocative thought to chew on.
Lay it on me.
Why is this trend getting stronger? Is there something about the modern NFL, maybe more complex defenses, that actually penalizes the raw early bloomers? It could be that the era of the pure physical freak is giving way to the era of the more polished cerebral veteran at the position.
Something to think about before you make that next pick. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.